Oh, hold on a second. Hello, everyone. We are live. I am on the wrong camera. Hold on one second. Let's see. Oh, there we go. That's better. All right. Hey guys, what's up? It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for Wednesday's Q&A. I am Kathy Flynn, and I'm coming to you live on Facebook from several spots, as well as YouTube from my YouTube channel, Autistic and Thriving. And I also have a Facebook page and Facebook group, Autistic and Thriving, as well as the fact that I'm going live from the autism community. I go live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so that I can bring my expertise to these groups and answer any questions that you have regarding anything autistic. If you're having any concerns or you'd like to discuss something, please jump into the live and let me know so that I can give you some solutions and strategies to help you out. Oh, I have some people watching. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let's see. Can't post comments to some destinations. Okay, so comments haven't come in yet. Oh, why aren't all my... Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. This is not Facebook group. YouTube. Why is this not showing all of the comments from everyone? I'm going to have to go into... some reason I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't know why the autism community is not coming up. Let me see. Let me try to get it from my phone because I have a feeling people are commenting and I am not getting your comments. Looking nice. Hey, thank you, whoever that is. Some comments are coming in. Let's see. Oh, now... Okay, I have you here from the autism community. I don't know why it's saying down here that I don't have comments from everyone. All destinations. Can't post comments to some destinations for some reason. I don't know why. That's weird. Okay, sorry guys. I'm just looking into some of my tech. Let me just see. Yes, it's comment. Post comments to my Lord. I do that every time. You see, I'm definitely going live. I just check on my own audio. Hi, Marissa. Nice to have you on and watching. Okay. I see you now in both locations so that I can get your name up there and make sure that I know it's you. For some reason, the autism community, you guys, your names don't come up anymore. So I just go on from the phone so that I can see who's there. Thank goodness it's not hundreds of you because that would be tricky. And then I would need a virtual assistant to help me run the live. That would be a little crazy, right? Maybe one day we'll get to that level. Okay, so let's see. It's Wednesday. And if you guys have any comments or, you have any questions, let me know. Let me know what's going on this week. Let me know if anything that we've tried in weeks from the past have helped you. Hi, Joe from England. Joe Davies is now watching. Hi, Joe. I'm hoping you're doing well. Let me know how some of my tips helped you from last week. Thanks for joining me again. I don't want to be too loud. Am I too loud into the mic? The mic is like right there, like literally right there. So when I get closer to the phone, then I get too close to the mic, I think. I might get too loud. Okay. So let's see. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today was communication. So I have a student in my class. Mom is actually looking to take her to another school. She, just so those of you who are new to me, I teach in New York City public schools. I've been a special ed teacher for 13 years. Sorry, I just drew a blank for a second. 13 years since, and I also have gen ed experience before that. I currently work in an autism program in District 75 in the verbal behavior program, and we work with all kinds of emergent students at varying levels. So most of them are at a toddler preschool level with preschool level skills. And some of them are, fourth and fifth graders. So they're at an older age, but they're still at a very low level. We don't like to say low or high, so we say emergent. They are emergent students, and all of them are nonverbal. So I work with 5 nonverbal kids in my classroom, and we work with them to develop a mode of communication for them so that they can be speaking. They can learn to communicate even if it's not through their voice. So one child is on a PECS system. She uses picture exchange communication, where she's using pictures when she wants something. She finds the picture of it in her book and she gives it to us, and we say, oh, you want this? And we give her over the item, and then the picture goes back into her book. You're exchanging a picture for the object. When you graduate, let's say from a PECS book, you can go into an AAC device. That means you need to be at a very high level with your picture exchange. You need to be at full sentences, where you pull a full sentence out, I want, and then you have the, whatever your child wants is filled into that sentence, and even starting using attributes. So I have a student who can say, I want blue M&Ms, or I want silver putty. He uses colors in front of his nouns, which is amazing because he's using attributes, and he's actually using his device to tell us these attributes. Let's see, no more comments coming in. Let me know how you guys are doing, and if you have any specific questions. Otherwise, I'll just keep chatting about communication. So you get to a full sentence, and you get to working with attributes and being able to flip through several pages of your book, and then you're ready for more, digitalized or digitized, I don't know the exact word for it, categories. Okay, so when you get to a higher level with communication and functional communication, you're going to start adding in adjectives, all kinds. Sorry, guys. Oh, I hope I'm back. Sorry, I don't know. Something's going on with my connection today. And Marissa said I was blurry, so I'm trying to clean my camera. Is that better, Marissa? All right. Sorry for freezing up. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. I have a booster in this room. I shouldn't be frozen anymore. Hopefully, I'm still here. Okay. So, when you get to a higher level with categories, you need to have things being able to be like, click and it goes into a new folder, and then click, it goes into another folder. So, for instance, when my one student needs to he's requesting pretzels. We're good now. Thank you, Marissa. We're good now. When he's asking for pretzels, he goes to I want, and then to eat, and then he has to go to food. And then inside the food category, he goes to snacks. And then inside snacks, he goes down to pretzels. So it's like multiple categories that open up, because if he wants to eat, then he has the food category opens, and he has to say, oh, to eat or to drink, right? And then he goes into multiple food categories. There's meals, there's snacks, and then there's drinks that are separate. So his food is, divided up into a couple different categories. And so are his toys. He has toys that he requests, and then he has actions, so he likes to pull you close into him. So you say, oh, we prompt him to ask for a hug, and then I have kiddos who can't open their packaging. And so we prompt them to ask for open, so asking for actions is very, very important, and it's at a higher level. So we build kids up everywhere, wherever they are. They can be built up with more progression for more functional language, being able to use pronouns, attributes, being able to talk about different pictures, label different items, objects, pictures, and to be able to sort things. to be able to fill in, words and phrases and answer questions about yourself. So all of those things can happen on an AAC device, and that's usually a voice output device where the device talks for you. So I have a student right now whose mom doesn't want her to be in our school anymore. She wants her to magically start talking. And, we know that Mary is not ready to talk. How do we know that? Well, one of the telltale signs that a child is not ready to start speaking is called the vocal imitation test. Okay, so this is really big. This is really important. If you have a child or know a child who's nonverbal and doesn't have a system in place, one of the ways you can tell if that child will become a vocal learner, where they're using their voice, is to do a vocal imitation test. So you're going to say vowel sounds, and you're going to see if your child can imitate that sound. Vowels are the easiest sound to produce. That's why babies say vowels first, right? So I would say ah, and hope that your child could say ah, and you want to have a high reinforcer, ready to go. First say ah, then cookie, or whatever it is, so that your child's really motivated to imitate what you're saying. Say E, say O, then you can start with some consonant sounds. If your child can imitate these sounds, that's a great indication that he or she will become echolalic, but, which isn't so great because we don't want them imitating everything we say, which tends to start happening. They tend to over imitate, and they'll imitate everything we say, and they'll echo you. Do you want chips? Do you want chips? Like, they'll just literally answer you with your question. That's called an echo, and that type of speech is called echolalia. We don't want echolalia, but what we do want is your child to be able to imitate so that he or she learns what words to use and how to use them, and how to use them in a functional way to get their needs and wants met, right? So when your child starts to imitate our sounds, our words, then he or she can learn to use those words the right way. So instead of grabbing for the cookies, you would say cookie, and he or she would say cookie. Great job. Nice asking for cookie. Here you go. Here's a piece of cookie, right? Because your child now said the word for the item that he or she wants. Eventually it's, I want cookie, or I want a chocolate chip cookie, please. That's like at a higher level. You would increase the words in the phrase, and you would start to have more communication happening. But you could start with something super simple, like the name of the item. So if your child can vocally imitate you, then he or she can become a vocal learner. Now, when will your child start talking? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. We know children who have started talking way later than we thought. Okay, they were like 8, 9, 10 years old. I know someone who didn't start talking till he was 13. And, some kids never talk vocally. So we don't know if they'll ever start talking or when. We don't know. They could be nonverbal for several years before all of a sudden they just start using their voice and they start talking and saying lots of words. I have 2 kids in my class that are considered nonverbal, but do echo me. They do echo a lot of words that we say. They don't really use those words functionally. Right now, my one guy, Caleb, he is not using any of his words in a functional way. He doesn't use his words to request. So if he wants chips, he doesn't usually say chips at all, but he will imitate whatever we say. So he could become a vocal learner if we start to really push for him to use his voice. But he's got a lot of behaviors right now, and we're teaching him how to use his AAC device, which he's very efficient with. He puts whole sentences out. I want to eat popcorn, So he's saying full sentences. He's navigating his device really well. It helps him speak the way he should. And so we're working on teaching him that way of speaking. But he does echo us. And that tells me that he could become a vocal learner one day. So it's important to know your child's strengths. What are they able to do? One way to tell if he or she will start talking is to do the vocal imitation test. So it's very, that's, goodness gracious. I don't know what is going on with my tech today. So that's a great way to tell. So we test that. We test that multiple times a year. And I had said to Mary's mom, I said, We work on vocal imitation from Mary so that she can speak, one day, but she's not ready. She just doesn't give us any sounds at all. Now, Mary can hum, by the way. This is a great story because it's interesting to spot this type of learner, and she's not alone. There's a lot of learners that are similar like this. Mary can hum. She can hum perfectly to lots of different nursery rhymes and songs. In fact, she hums to Happy Birthday all the time and some other nursery rhymes, but she can't speak. She doesn't have any sounds that she makes that are our sounds. She makes lots of sounds on her own, and she hums and when she's eating. She makes lots of sounds. No nonverbal child is silent, but she won't imitate our sounds. And that basically is what she needs in order to learn all the words that she has to learn. So just like babies learn to imitate us and they learn different words that we say, and that's how they start picking up language, the same goes for an autistic child. Okay, they have to start picking up our language. And that means they need to be willing to say the sounds and the words that we're saying so that they can learn that this is a phone and, this is a remote control, and they need to be able to ask for the remote or what's closest to that word. Okay, so that's a little bit about, speech and nonverbal kids and like trying to figure out what kind of system they should have or what they're ready for. I can tell Mary's not ready to speak because she's not imitating us vocally. However, that also doesn't mean she'll never speak. She could learn one day. She could start talking really late. She's already almost 10. Actually, she's going to turn 10 this fall. And, she's still not talking, but that's okay. That doesn't mean she'll never talk. It just means that we need to make sure we're practicing her mode of communication so that she makes progress in that mode and learns to communicate in a functional way until she learns to talk or in place of talking, because she may never actually speak with her mouth, with her voice. Let's see. This is Marissa. Who's this? Lori is watching. Oh no, these comments are not coming through. My son had delayed speech, but then started talking in sentences. Yeah, that can happen. All of a sudden, kiddos can start bursting with language for sure. That it can really easily happen. And in fact, a lot of nonverbal kiddos that, people assume that they're not very bright, that they don't have a lot to say, that they're just like not processing what's going on around them. And that is not true at all. So many of them, continue to be nonverbal. And then once they learn to start typing, some of them learn to type and they literally can type out all of their thoughts and all of their feelings. And people are amazed, like, what? You've had all that inside you all this time. And now we gave you an outlet to let it out. We try to help that happen with the AAC devices, where we teach children how to spell words and eventually learn to type. Some of them have come so far that they're still nonverbal, but they're typing away. They're typing away their full memoirs and their stories, how they feel about others, how they feel about how others treat them, and how, they are really smart people. They just never really had a way to communicate what they want to say. So, it's amazing. It's just such an enigma. Being autistic has so many amazing mysteries, and it's just the more you learn about being autistic and all the different things that can happen when you are autistic, and how to best implement strategies to help you in your day-to-day, then you can really be helpful in someone's life, whether it's your own child or a student or a neighbor or whatever. Okay. No, not me this time. I'm not sure who this is. Someone's coming in from one of the groups. Oh, no, this is all coming from the autism community. But for some reason, the comment did not come through. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm having tech issues today, guys. I'm so sorry. Some of the comments, like this comment right here that's up on the screen, I don't know who this is. And it's not coming up from the autism community. So I'm not sure who wrote that. But yes, that definitely can happen, where people, kiddos that are nonverbal can just start all of a sudden bursting with speech. That happens even to typical kids. My nephew, actually, my sister wanted to get him speech services because he really wasn't talking at around 12 months. And so they said, well, give him some more time, give him till he's 18 months, and they won't actually evaluate a child for speech until they've had at least 18 months. Sometimes some counties won't even do it until they're 24 months, because between the ages of 18 months and 24 months, usually there's this huge burst in language. Because all of a sudden something just clicks and the kiddos start blah, 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 and they start saying all these wonderful things. So that's what happened to my nephew, and he didn't need speech at all. He all of a sudden, had no speech, and then all of a sudden he had like all these words that he was saying. So that totally can happen to a typical child as well as an autistic child whenever they do learn to start speaking. If they ever learn to start speaking, they can use other modes of communication, like I said. And that's a big part of my job, is working with these children with those modes of communication: sign language, picture exchange communication, an alternative communication device, or their voice. Let's see. Hi, it's Emma from the autism community here. Are you able to explain a bit about PDA and ODD, similarities and differences? Hi, Emma. Thanks for your question. Yes, so I'm not that familiar with PDA. I think it was defined in the group. I've never really heard that term before in all of my years of being a special ed teacher. So I'm thinking that this term is a little newer to the scene. I used to what is this? I forgot. I could look it up. PDA. PDA. I feel like someone had defined it the other day. But let me start with ODD while this hopefully pathological demand avoidance. Okay. So yeah, I'm not that familiar, honestly, with PDA, because it's not something that I've really come across. In my eyes, pathological defiance, avoidance. Oh, sorry, demand avoidance. So not defiance, demand avoidance. So that avoiding demands that are being placed on them is very, very similar to oppositional defiant disorder. So that's what ODD stands for. So from what I understand, one is more like avoiding the demands that are placed on them. So they're kind of like ignoring, they're just not following through, not following directions, but not necessarily aggressive, or, they could be more like what we consider passive aggressive, where, they're like not cleaning their room, but they're not like throwing a fit over it, not throwing a tantrum, whatever. They're just purposely avoiding the demand, So it's demand avoidance. It's like, and it becomes pathological. Like, I'm just going to tune you out because I'm doing me right now. I've got my thing going on, Now, oppositional defiant disorder is literally purposely being oppositional to all authority figures and defiant to what a direction might be. So, whereas a demand is one thing, the direction is one thing. Defiance could be like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I'm throwing a fit right now because you asked me to do that. I'm going to do the opposite of what you asked me to do. I'm going to argue with you just because I feel like it, just because I love confrontation, just because I love to, defy authority, blah, 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 blah. So ODD can get a little, more extreme and more leading towards very defiant behavior where they're not compliant at all. They're not listening to your directions and they're purposely defying them, because they want the big reaction. They want to, again, they still want to do what they want to do. They still are avoiding demands, but they're avoiding demands in a more extreme way. As far as I know, strategies used with which are not effective for a child with PDA. PDA is a profile that describes those whose main characteristic is to avoid everyday demands and expectations to an extreme extent. That is kind of what I said about ODD. Let's see, strategies and approaches. Again, PDA is a little bit newer of a term. I'm not even sure when it first came out. Oh boy. Okay. So, they are very similar, PDA and ODD. I'm not sure the exact differences between the two. And like I said, when I saw the term PDA and I looked up the definition, I was like, well, that kind of sounds like ODD. So I'm not sure if like they're changing the name of the diagnosis now, or if it's like going to be moving into a new, whatever they call it, like definition. But yeah, ODD, you have to be very strategic. Okay. I have a classic example. Here's another story for you. I had a student, I was a sub in a school district where we had this child in a second or third grade classroom who was extremely ODD. He just did whatever he wanted to do. He wasn't formally diagnosed, but he was causing a lot of problems for this long-term sub. And so because they knew he was a behavior issue, they sent me into the room to see how I could help out. I was coming in with a special ed background, but I was still just subbing a gen ed classroom. So one of the things he did was they were doing spelling, and he was not doing spelling. He was writing in his journal. He apparently loved to write in his journal, but all he wanted was his journal just to write whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. So he was not following the directions of the routine, of the schedule, at all. So, the teacher said, oh, I've asked him over and over and over again to, it's time for this, it's time for math, it's time for spelling, and he's not listening to me at all. He just does what he wants to do. Of course, we as teachers can't put our hands on the students. We can't force them to do anything, right? So we have to be strategic. So what did I do? What did I come up with as a strategy for this student? I took everything out of his desk. I knew that he really, really wanted that journal. That was something I knew he would be willing to work for. That would be something that would motivate him. But I took everything away. He didn't care about the spelling book and the math book. All he really wanted was the journal. But he was like, hey, what's going on? That's my stuff. What are you doing with my stuff? And I said, well, guess what? I'm going to tell you something. When you become responsible for your stuff and you use your stuff at the right time, like everyone else in the class, then you can have it back. But you're showing me that you're not being responsible for any of your stuff because you're doing what you want to do and you're not following the schedule with the rest of the class. But I want my journal. I want my journal. You have to give it back to me. It's mine. I said, well, you can earn your journal when you do your spelling. Everybody just finished their spelling words and you did not because you were writing in your journal. So it's time to do spelling right now. And when your words are finished, you can get your journal back. And every time you complete a task on time and with the rest of the class, you can continue to keep your journal. If you continue to go off schedule, everything will be mine again in the closet. So you can start to earn your books back if you're being responsible for them. So this was like light bulb moment for him because he got mad. He got really mad at first, but we stuck with this routine for a good couple of days. And at first, his oppositional defiance got worse. He was very attention seeking. I want my journal, screaming his head off. Everybody had to ignore him. He started climbing on the desk because he's looking for attention. So he's very attention seeking as well. But he realized none of that was helping. None of that was going to get him his journal back. And that's all he really, really wanted. So once I set the condition to earn the journal, then he had no choice really but to start following the routine, following the schedule, following what, was laid out for him. And that he should not have been, writing in his journal whenever he wanted to, because that's not what everyone else was doing. So it was a great way to turn everything around and be strategic about the situation. So hopefully that story helps you, Emma, in your situation, that didn't set him into a behavior. Yes, it did. It did set him into behaviors. So you have to expect some behaviors in the beginning. And it's what we call an extinction burst. You're now all of a sudden upsetting the routine. You're saying, nope, you're not allowed to just write in your journal whenever you want to. That's not following the rules. Sorry. You have to follow the rules. You're in school and we have rules to follow. You have to set boundaries and you have to get those boundaries back. But the child has to learn that there are consequences when you don't act responsibly with your stuff. And so, if he's, let's say, ignoring, I'm not sure, Emma, what he's doing. Katie. Oh, Kathy. Yeah. I think that you're referring to your son, right? Caleb, because he's having issues at home. I know you said in your post that, there was a lot of avoidance issues. He's trying to avoid different tests he has to do. So yeah, he could get more behavioral because so far up to this point, he's been allowed maybe to let things go or like to defy the situation. You can remove the video games. Let's say he has to earn his video games back once he follows the direction of cleaning his room, and the video game console can stay in his room as long as he uses it when he's supposed to. So, there's parameters and rules that you can set, and you can say, well, I have to take it out of your room because you're not showing me responsibility now. I have to give it to you when you earn it because you can't show me that you can keep your hands off it when you're not supposed to be using it or whatever the situation is. He's smart. He's very smart and he's a little older. I know, right? So, you can try to reason with him a little bit and tell him like, this is not acceptable. This is not happening. This is what's going to happen when you do the right thing. And otherwise, this is what's going to happen, so that he understands what he's up against and he understands the expectation that's on him. The more kids get away with doing what they want to do, when it's not appropriate, let's say it's not following house rules or it's not following routine or it's not, following your direction, even if it's just a simple direction, go pick up your socks and shoes. If he's purposely defying you and not following that direction or, avoiding the demand, classic avoidance, you start to see a pattern in that behavior. That's his way of saying, I'm going to get away with it. I don't have to do it. Mom's not making me, so you have to get back that what we call instructional control, even though you're at home, parental control, right? If we lose instructional control as a teacher, we're done. We're sunk. Same thing goes as a parent. If you lose that ability to set boundaries for your kiddo, your things will be bad because then you're looking for help because your kiddo only gets bigger and stronger and more, rebellious. I don't know what to say. As they become teenagers, they're sorting out their boundaries. They're trying to figure out what they can get away with, what they can't get away with, what they should do, starting to understand a moral code of any kind. And that's, the time when they need boundaries, but they also need breathing room. You have to have a delicate balance for them as they go into becoming teenagers, and so once they respect that balance and you give them their freedom, but you also give, you also have, routines and boundaries on them that certain expectations need to be followed, then you have this great, balance. You should start a podcast. Thank you so much. That's so funny. Marissa. Let's see. You know what it is? I've gone live so many times and now it becomes like second nature to be able to talk about everything and also to be able to tell you guys through stories how because stories are relatable, right? And it also kind of tells you all the experience that I have and how I've made certain, game time decisions and tweaked strategies based on different situations. I've been thinking about starting a podcast though, but right now I'm way too busy. So I'm just going live on Facebook and YouTube. That's great. Thank you. I have another question from another group member. Good afternoon. It is very hard just trying to get my 6-year-old to eat is a task. He only eats snacks. If I give him food, he vomits. Oh no. And it is not easy. Do you have advice? Oh, wow. Okay. So Emma, thanks for posting this, this question from another, group member. So yeah, food and nutrition can be very, very tricky for our kiddos with autism, right? I'm going to end up having to go after this, question. We have to be very careful about, these bad habits. Some of them develop, some of them become texture aversive. They don't want to eat certain foods. Some of them purposely vomit. I had my student Mary actually used to do that. She used to vomit all these in her mouth all the time. And we got rid of that behavior, thank goodness, but it sort of just kind of went away on its own. We also realized we think it's because of all the acidic food she's eating. She was eating a lot of oranges every day, so that might have been too much for her stomach. So you have to watch like the amount of acidic food, because that could be creating a lot of bile or vomit for your child. I would say snacks are okay. Whatever your child's willing to eat, you don't want him all of a sudden to become super aversive and just, it's a boy, right? Give him food. All of a sudden just stop eating. Like some kiddos literally will shut down and they won't eat. And it's like, I need to get some nutrition in him. Okay, I'll give him cookies. Even if it's not nutritious, they'll start to eat junk food because they refuse to eat everything else. And that's how they start to get these really bad eating habits. So whatever he is eating for a snack, I would say, great. Try to make some of those snacks as healthy as possible. I would include Pediasure as well, because you get a lot of great vitamins and nutrients from the Pediasures, and protein. So, if he's not eating really healthy, then that's a great way to supplement his body. You could also try smoothies as a snack if he likes chocolate. I always tell parents all the time, most kiddos, you don't even have to make it cold. Some kiddos don't like cold. You don't have to make a cold smoothie. You could mix up a bunch of fruits or vegetables and then throw some chocolate powder in there. If they like chocolate, they'll think it's a shake. They'll think it's a vanilla shake. Even throw a little scoop of milk or vanilla ice cream in there or whatever. It'll taste more like a milkshake than anything, because chocolate overpowers all of those other flavors, a lot of those other flavors. And you can start to get some good fiber and fruit or nutrients, or even a protein powder in there, so that there's some nutrients going in. And you can try to mask the flavors with some chocolate syrup or chocolate powder. So yeah, I wouldn't push a lot of food because he's vomiting, but make sure the snacks that he does eat are somewhat healthy. See if he can get some fruit in there. You could try to do a bite for a bite. Here's a bite of apple. Here, now you can have your cookie. Or here's a bite of a banana. Now have a chip. See if you could do like a bite for a bite. Try to start exploring other foods, even if they're just snacks. They don't have to be full meals just yet. And slowly start to increase his repertoire of food. Okay, so let's see. Can I thank you for the advice last week? Yes, I have spoken to his tutor, who is going to work on his self-esteem. Awesome. So awesome, Joe. That's great. We are on holiday from school this week, so it's easier. Okay, awesome. I'm so happy that you spoke with his tutor, because everyone in his corner on his team can help him feel more confident. And, he'll slowly open up and I think you said he's 14, so he's really at a tough age where kids are just really starting to learn about themselves more and learning to open up more. And some of them are so shy when they're younger, or even around that age. And then they all of a sudden blossom, much older. And some of them are just more outgoing. So it's just a matter of that confidence level and how shy they feel and how comfortable they feel in their own skin. And when they're going through puberty, that's a tricky thing all around. So whether they're autistic or not, so just be in his corner, be supportive, and help him through, because it's not easy, right? Adolescence is not easy. All right, guys, I actually have to run. I'm happy that I got to help a few people today. I'm happy that I talked about communication, because that's always something people are having questions about. So it's important to talk about all angles of autism and all kinds of behaviors and communication issues and sensory issues and self-esteem issues and all the things that come up. So I go live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much, guys, for jumping into the live today and joining me. I will see you next week. Bye.